Welcome back to the Church of Marketing podcast. I'm your host, Conor Wright and Jake Lewis. Today, we're going to be talking about finding your ideal customer, and we're really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, we had a hour and a half jam session about this topic yesterday in just a real life situation where we were figuring out how we were going to identify the perfect customer for a client.
Yep.
Yeah.
So to get started off, and the more you listen to this podcast, I'm sure you'll hear me say this, is my biggest beef is...
He has a lot of beef.
I have a lot of beefs. To be honest, I hate the marketing, advertising, content creation industry. I love doing it. I hate the industry because I think the industry is full of fluff, garbage, people just, I dislike the industry quite a bit, but I love marketing and advertising. So that's part of the reason why we started this podcast, is because we want to fix it. We want to give people real actionable advice, things that's like cutting out the fluff, cutting out all this extra garbage that is honestly just going to be a waste of time, energy, and money.
Episode 1, right? We were talking about those silver bullets that everybody's selling, but it doesn't really give you like actionable advice.
Yep.
It's just all this fluff. It's like the fanciest diet, right?
Yep.
It's really quite simple. So.
Yeah. Well, and as somebody who is between me and my business partner and our brands, we have probably, I'm ashamed to say this, you learn from your failures, right? We've probably wasted over $500,000 in marketing efforts and tactics and strategies that brought in a zero return. Sponsoring events, trying different agencies, different platform strategies, whatever, influencers. I can't even tell you how much money we've wasted on influencers. Oh, it's heartbreaking. But we're going to talk about today customers' personas. And this is where I think a lot of businesses spend a lot of time and on something that just brings no value. So if you think about it, so normally what a customer persona is a business identifies their ideal customer. It's usually like their demographics, like age, gender, their favorite car, how they like to spend their time, what type of clothes do they wear. And in reality, all that information is usually worthless. Completely worthless.
And why do you say that?
Well, they don't know how to take that information. Most businesses don't know how to take that information and apply it to helping generate more sales. So they might take it and be like, okay, like our ideal customer loves driving Lamborghinis, or our ideal customer loves this clothing brand. And then they'll try and target that on like Facebook ads or Google ads or something, right? But that's not really who your ideal customer is. That's not like the people who like Ferraris, for example. That's a wide range of people. There's people who can afford a Ferrari who like Ferraris, and there's people who cannot afford a Ferrari who like Ferraris. They are completely different people, different interests, the way they talk is completely different. The purpose of a persona, or the purpose of identifying your ideal customer, is to recognize what problem you solve that they have, right, with your product. And 2, how do they actually communicate that problem, right? Because you'll see this with as an advertising agency, I've had a conversation with business owners quite a bit, right? And the business owner says, I just want to get things that work. I want it to work. But that can mean a lot of different things, right? Is that a 3 ROAS? Is that a 4 ROAS? Is that a 5 ROAS? Is that a 3 ROAS scaled at $100,000 of ad spend? Is that a 5 ROAS at $20,000 in ad spend, right? Those are all different things. And so when I'm trying to figure out my ideal customer, if I'm trying to get more clients, then I need to figure out what they actually mean so that when I talk to them or when I advertise and create ads to generate leads, I know how to talk about it. Because like if I ran an ad that's like, get marketing that works, That just means so many different things to so many different people. But if I know my ideal customer specifically wants a 5 ROAS, and that's considered good marketing results, my ads are then, hey, I'm gonna help you get a 5 ROAS on your ad spend. I'm saying the same thing, one's much more specified and will have a lot more success.
So before you dive in a little deeper, got a quick question. I know this one's gonna make you laugh, but what do you say to those people who say that their client is anybody, right? And you said you've had some clients in the past where, hey, we have this event.
Oh, yeah.
Who's it for? Well, it's everybody. It's moms, it's businessmen, it's college students. You can't market to everybody. And I think I remember you telling me those ads flopped.
So bad.
Or their CPMs were just egregiously high.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
If a business owner is convinced that their product is for everyone, I will not take them on, no matter how much they're willing to pay me. Now, if that's what they say, but they're willing to change, then I would take them on. But if they're stuck in this was a very interesting, you mentioned it, but like the whole conversation, it was a leadership training program. And the client on the phone was like, and this is when I worked for another agency, so I didn't get to choose the client, unfortunately. But they were like, yeah, this is for all leaders. And everybody's a leader. Moms are leaders. CEOs are leaders and everything. I was like, you're not wrong. Moms are leaders. I mean, my wife leads 4 little feral animals every single day.
Yeah.
But the way a CEO talks of a major corporation and the way a mother talks, they don't talk the same language. They're both speaking English, and it's a different language, right? So that's why you have to identify your ideal customer, because you have to, and it's more important that you understand how they talk and less what their likes on Facebook are. What's their age? What's their gender? Like all that stuff, like you got to understand how they talk. That is creating a truly effective customer persona.
Yeah.
And 99% of you who have made a customer persona, I'm saying 99, I'm pretty sure it's 100%. But 99% of you, because there might be that one person like, oh, I totally do this.
Yeah.
Please, trolls, comment below. None of you have made a customer persona that way at all. So we actually had to go through this. We have a client that we're going to do a big lifestyle content shoot for. They gave us their brand Bible. And how would you describe that brand Bible?
I mean, it's fairly typical, right? It's messaging. It's what's the who's this product for? It's color templates for the different products for the brand itself. It's typography. It's logos. It's everything that on paper makes up the brand, right?
Yep.
The brand image, I would say, which is very helpful in creating video, in creating stills and advertising. But what we're trying to do is truly understand, one, especially if we're doing lifestyle, who are the specific talent that we want in the videos so that they reflect what the customers are trying to achieve.
Yep.
Right? And so again, going back to, a health product, it's what is the physique that they are trying to achieve? Because when it comes down to it, that's why they're eating healthy. That's why they're, drinking pre-workout, whatever it may be. They're trying to achieve a physique, to feel good, self-confidence, all that great stuff.
So you actually, what sparked this whole conversation yesterday was there's a video about a luggage company and how they were able to dominate.
Yeah.
Want to dive into that?
Yeah, so they were a luggage company that hadn't quite entered the US market, right? So they were a European brand, and they were pumping out, it was mainly just still advertising.
Yep.
And it
discounts,
was all
like
discounts, this is our luggage, whatever. And they said that their brand, at least in the United States, had this, when it came to the customers and how the customers viewed them, they just looked like a kind of cheap knockoff of something like a Samsonite or something that's kind of viewed as, the top of the market. And they realized that type of marketing just wasn't working. They weren't making money. They weren't seeing any growth. So what they did is they developed a customer, ideal customer, like persona. And they really delved in deep to figure out what is their problem? And not just when it comes to luggage, but what is luggage used for? Travel. And they found that the consumers were kind of sick of travel in that oversized baggage fees had gone up, and that's always a pain for anybody who travels. And so they started a kind of marketing campaign, very simple, travel light. And it was meant to kind of communicate that not only is the luggage light, you're going to be able to pack more, it's going to be light, you're not going to get charged oversized fees, but travel light in that, like, make it fun, make it light and fun again, right? Yeah. And I think the first ad that they pumped out, and it was just in, I believe, magazines that go in airplanes. Yep. It was a picture of a lady walking through wet cement. Her footprints were visible in the wet cement, but the luggage wheels were not, right? So it was travel light. And then they started seeing success. I think it was something like 86% increase in sales or something in the first year. Yeah. And then by year 6, I think it was like 897%. It was something crazy.
8x growth over 6 years.
Yeah. And that was all because they just figured out exactly who their customer is and then what that customer's main overarching pain point was. And then every advertisement they created, whether it was static, whether it was graphic, or whether it was video, it was all about travel light.
Now, we talk about this, and I'm sure we will talk about this on every episode of this podcast because it's the foundational principle of all advertising and marketing, is they found the real problem that needed to be solved, and then all of their creative was just more fun and engaging and entertaining ways to get that one point across. And I think that's a big problem that people have is they try and get creative, but they're being creative for creative's sake. Oh, this kind of intro would be so cool with a fireball that shoots across the screen.
I mean, it's pretty cool. I've used one of those before.
And it can catch people's attention, but if it's not helping solve the problem that the person that's seeing the ad is getting, I mean, it makes it difficult. So, like that's, but it all comes down to really identifying what that pain point is. And so when we started talking about this yesterday, we started realizing, so this brand is selling fitness supplements, specifically, protein and stuff and different ways to, different protein products. And we were trying to figure out, okay, like models. Who do we want these models to look like? And then we started diving deep as like, okay, people who want to build muscle. And I was like, well, wait a second. And I just Googled bodybuilder. And then I Googled aesthetic bodybuilder. And then I Googled...
I think it was yoga.
Yoga. And I was like, okay.
CrossFit, everything.
There are so many different body types that are building muscle, right? That are all very different, right? Like you look at professional, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's probably the most iconic bodybuilder of all time, right? There are people who don't want to look like him. There's a lot of people who do. Yeah. I think he looks great, but I would never want that physique, right? And then there's someone like Steve Cook. Steve Cook is one of the OGs of 2010 bodybuilding, 2020 to 2020, right? He's huge in the space, but his physique is a much more lean and aesthetic, like still good-sized arms, good-sized shoulders, but his chest is not massive. He has a good-sized back. He has, decent calves and quads, but a really tight waist, right? Yeah. It's a completely different physique than Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then you have someone like Ronnie Coleman or Jay Cutler. Those dudes are just mass. They are massive, massive human beings. And they just tried to get as big as humanly possible. So who does our ideal customer actually want to look like? And we don't know. Like there's been no data research. So when we're looking at okay, this customer persona, we need to identify, we've realized the first thing we need to identify is what actual physique do these people want to look like? Because that's who we want in the ads. Because what we're selling when selling protein is helping people get to their dream physique. That is the bottom line. They want to look a certain way. They can, and they associate, they might want to feel a certain way, but that's so much harder to visualize. Yeah. Hey, I don't have knee pain. Well, it's a lot easier to, visualize having knee pain, but not having knee pain. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want to feel better. Well, what does that mean? I want to be able to bench
Makes me
press.
think of arthritis commercials.
Right.
Oh, my knees. Yeah.
So we realized, okay, like we need to send out, so our process for this whole thing is going to be very simple. We're going to send a customer survey out.
Yep.
Incentivize people. We want our super fan customers to fill out this form. And the very first question is, explain your ideal physique, right? And we're going to have 2 columns. Probably it's like, if you're male, do this one. If you're female, do this one.
Yep.
And we'll probably ask them as well as like, are you male or female, right? To identify, maybe all of this content should be based around males. Maybe all of this content should be based around females. That's what we need to figure out. So the first question, and then we're going to have pictures of different physiques that people are, all the different ones. Maybe people want to look like Jay Cutler. Maybe people want to look like Steve Cook. Maybe they want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Maybe they want to look like, a CrossFitter or somebody who eats a lot of vegetables and that's it.
Yeah.
Like that's the very first step, so that then when we're creating the content, we're putting people's ideal customers as the actors and models. Mm-hmm. So again, we're helping people identify, like, I want to look like that.
Yeah. And then the reason we're using imagery and then probably a little descriptor, right? We're going to have them describe what their ideal physique is. Mm-hmm. But the reason we're going to have the images and kind of descriptions next to them is so that we can make sure the jargon and the verbiage that's used in the advertising is correct, right? Because we don't want to use, right? Like we don't want to go to a thesaurus and have to guess.
Yeah.
When it says, jacked, ripped, in shape, whatever, we don't want to guess which one of those words is actually what the consumer is going to relate to. Mm-hmm. And so through the survey, we're going to figure that out by giving them multiple choice answers rather than keeping everything so open-ended. Yeah. Because then we're going to get too many options and we can't, again, target everybody.
Yeah, and like, I mean, the term, I want to look lean. Well,
yeah, what does that mean?
What does that mean? I want to have a little bit of muscle tone. I want to be jacked. I want to be ripped. I want to be shredded. I want to be huge. I want to be yoked. Like, those are all words describing very different things, and is unique.
Or it could be all the same thing,
or all
to somebody,
the same
right?
Thing. Like,
that's why.
For me, I'm like, I want to look jacked, but then like somebody's jacked is, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm like, actually, no. I want to look like Steve Cook jacked. And some people are like, he's not jacked, he's shredded. And then somebody else is gonna be like, that's the most jacked dude I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So that's phase 1 of this. And again, most times, like I've seen so many businesses run surveys and stuff, and they ask all these questions, but it doesn't actually, like, it's questions for questions' sake. We're getting questions to answer specific questions so that we can make specific decisions in marketing. And I think the next question that we're going to be in on that, and we're probably going to have 10, 15 questions, right? All of these, the point of this is all of these questions are to help us create a customer persona that will allow us to make marketing decisions, a data-backed.
Data-driven, yep.
Yeah, maybe we'll make t-shirts, but data over feelings. Like, like in marketing, it's like, I can't even tell you how many times a business owner's like, I feel like we should do this. I'm like, I feel like I should be in the NBA, but that doesn't mean, the data doesn't show that I should be in the NBA.
Yeah.
I'm 5'10.5", maybe 5'11" with my shoes on.
Yeah, we want to make objective decisions, not subjective decisions.
Yep, and business owners especially are always biased towards their brand and product, and they always feel a certain way, and it's like... Which
isn't necessarily a bad thing, but
data over feelings.
Yeah.
Like, honestly. So the next kind of questions we're asking is like, what kind of athletic clothes do you wear? Now, this question gets asked a lot because what most marketers are and what they're going to do is they're going to take that information. It's like, oh, I like Gymshark. Oh, I like Lululemon. Oh, I like whatever. And they're like, cool, I'm going to target that on Facebook. That's not why we're asking this question. Why we're asking this question is so that we can then go spy on those brands and see what kind of lifestyle content. Are they doing more lifestyle content in a gym or in the home or
on a track?
On a track.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then when we plan out our content shoot, this is the type of stuff that's helping these people convert and build loyalty to their brand and buy everything. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Let's just
tweak and
still
copy and
like
paste.
I think the term is still like an artist,
Still
right?
like an artist, yeah.
You know, change it by 10%, and it's a whole new thing.
Yeah.
You know, so what the next question I think that we had on the docket is like, why do you? So it's a protein powder, right?
Yeah.
I think we can share what it's called. It's called Proto. It's the best tasting protein ever.
I love it.
It's got protein pancakes, protein donuts, protein powders. And yes, I said protein donuts, and they are as good as they sound. If you need a delicious, they're not even paying us to do this. I'm a big.
My wife eats the pancakes every day.
My kids,
pancakes. They love them.
My kids eat the pancakes. When I am like, I'm currently on a shred right now. So like the sweet tooth calleth daily. But I'm also trying to get, 200 grams of protein every day. So I'm going to want to have a donut that has 15 to 20 grams of protein and only 110 to 150 calories. It's a great sweet tooth hack. Yeah. So anyways, what we're going to ask with specifically the protein powders, are you cooking with the protein?
Yeah. How are you using the product?
How are you using it? Yeah. Because then it's like, okay, if people are using it to make Ninja Creamy, let's make a lifestyle shoot with Ninja Creamy ice cream. Yeah. Making protein powder, if it's, I just drink it straight. I put in a big smoothie. I do like that information will allow us to make creative decisions that will allow us to create the eye candy of what our ideal customer is trying to solve the problem for.
Yeah. And then even after that, we also want to know if you're not using the product, what are you using then and why? Right? Are you going with the Fairlife shakes? Are you doing Premier Protein? Like what are you doing instead? And what is stopping you from using this current product? Why won't you use Proto? Are these
why won't you use our product? It's so good, just try it.
But like you said, it's so much deeper than just demographics. Male, female, age group, where do you live, income range. That truly gives us nothing when it comes to at least creative marketing decisions.
Exactly.
Because that's not going to help me at all. Typically, I'm going to have male and female in most ads.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to pick a certain age group. But like going back, this market research allows us to not have to guess. We can sit around and we can guess, and we can probably make some really good educated guesses on who the customers are. But again, it's not data driven, and it's all based on our own lenses of the brand and of how we perceive that market and those who use it, right? It's too subjective.
I have this theory, and it's turning into a fact, in my personal opinion.
That's
it's
definitely
a fact
the definition
according to
of a
Conor.
fact. Yeah.
I think business owners who start their brands in an industry they care about. So like, if you're really into fitness and you start a fitness brand, if you're really into mountain biking and you start a mountain biking brand, if you're really into, fashion and you start a fashion brand, that's going to help you a lot in the very beginning. But it is going to put blinders on you as a business owner, and you are going to be stuck in your head of what you think is the right thing. And that's part of the reason you need to hire people outside of your organization who don't tell you what you want to hear, to get the data so that you can make data-driven decisions. Just a little fun fact. Like I can't even tell you, I've worked with probably 100, whether running their ads, consulting, auditing, like probably 100 to 200 different companies at least. Somewhere around there. And it's the founder's goggles that like hold a company back so much. Like we worked with this, I gotta be careful about how I say it because I don't, want to be careful here. We worked with this brand. The owner really wanted to be involved in the marketing decisions. And every single time we jumped on a call, they would bring up their different competitors' ads. I feel like our ad should look like this. I feel like our ad should look like that. I feel like our ad should, and I'm like, why? the ads we're running are working. You've tested that type of ad in the past. The data shows it's not a good ad. Well, they're running it and it must be working. They're crushing it. I'm like, okay, so it's crushing it. Maybe. How do you know? How do you know it's crushing it? Can you see the ad spend behind it? Can you see the ROAS? Can you see the click-through rates? Can you see the CPMs? Can you see any of that data? Well, no. Okay, then you don't know it's crushing it. Well, they wouldn't be running if it was crushing it. They're probably testing. It is probably not going to work. Anyways, that brand, it was very frustrating. In 3 months, we generated, with like $150,000 of ad spend, $450,000 of new customer revenue. So we were very profitable new customer acquisition. So they also, like with the returning customer, they probably did, it was a total of like a 1.2 to 1.5 million. Our ad spend was all on the new customer. So again, a 3 to 4 ROAS on new customer acquisition. That is amazing. They fired us because I wouldn't just tell them what they wanted to hear. And all of my decisions were data-driven. This ad's crushing it, I'm keeping it on. Well, I don't like the way it looks. I don't care, it's getting a 3 ROAS. So eventually we parted ways. A year later, well, it was actually about 8 months later, they came back to us telling us they were sorry. We then took up advertising again, turned things back on. We're getting a 2.5 to 3 ROAS on new customer acquisition. Same problem arose. The owner wanted to get involved in the marketing. They had the founder's goggles on. 2-3 months later, they fired us again. And I called it. I was like, within 1 year, they're out of business. I was right. That's why I want to be careful. They're pretty much out of business. They fired every single employee, and the owner's running it themselves, and like it's just ran to the ground. So data over feelings, guys. A lot of people say trust your gut. And I'm like, trust the data, you know? And it all starts, and that's why we want to talk about this like customer persona, like data-driven decision making, data-driven customer personas. That's one of the things that we're really focusing on with this brand, because they've never done any of that. Yeah. And it's a lot of the conversations with them is, I feel this, I think that, I want this, and we're just like, okay, let's get the data. So like, we're not guessing. If you're not guessing in marketing anymore, you're moving fast, you're moving hard. Yeah, it's awesome. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So to summarize, right? Make data-driven decisions. If you don't have the data, go get that data. Mm-hmm. The data needs to be more specific than just your typical. I even remember in college them teaching kind of getting, market research, and it was just that. It was demographics. It was very surface level information. Mm-hmm. So it's really delving in.
I got lots of stories. There was another brand we worked with, and they did customer personas, and I was like, okay, where did you get this information? And they literally just made up the information of the customer persona of who they thought it should be. So to like, and they had like their 10 pillars of who they wanted to target it with their ads. This is this person, this is this person, this is their interests and stuff. And they literally just made it up. They made up the personas, and they gave that to us to like, here's some information for you when you run ads. I'm like, worthless. There's no point to this. They wasted money making these. Anyways, just another little just a fun story.
But yeah, go get the data, get the actual data, right? Mm-hmm. It's truly figure out who they are, why they use the product. Once again, it's getting this data so you can solve the problem.
Yes.
In your advertising.
Reach.
And then once you have that data, you can create those customer personas, and then you develop all of your marketing strategy, all of your marketing content around that persona. And, right, not everything's going to be perfect. There may be, I honestly think there are also, especially with athletics, there can be trends.
Yeah.
And things can change. So definitely if it stops working, it might be time for a reboot.
Yeah.
To go back out to the market and understand, has the customer base changed? In growing that previous marketing base, did a new one appear? Is there now a new, larger customer base you should be targeting? So
Like,
don't
you should
always
do-
rely on the same data forever.
You should be doing a survey every 6 months. So if you're like a company that's doing $3-4 million a year, you could probably do it every 3 months because your customer base is growing. And then you can really identify like, okay, why did you buy this? Like the ideal physique stuff. Again, that's just an example of this one. And it might be something else. Like if you're selling a luxury clothing brand, you could say like, hey, how would you describe your, like, who would you consider the best looking person? And it could just be like 4 or 5 different types of people, like somebody who's more muscular, somebody who's, in a suit. Like there's so many ways that you could really identify that so that you can just, your content can always be evolving and keeping up with like what your ideal customer wants to look like. Because again, most products are there to help people. Like most problems that people have are their looks, how they feel, like inconveniences in their lives and everything. So it's you just got to keep that up and everything.
Yeah. So in the end, it's again data over feelings.
Data over feelings.
Use that data to create the persona. Use that persona to develop your marketing strategy, assets, everything.
Bingo.
Bingo. Bingo bongo.
Bingo bongo.
Okay.
Okay, well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And, we're going to be making content like this every week, helping business owners, marketers, and advertisers really make their marketing and advertising, their content effective and in a way that's going to allow you to grow and scale businesses.
Yeah.
So,
and also helping those who create content,
yeah,
who don't typically wear the marketing hat, to still be aware of these things. So when you are working with clients and you are creating content, commercials, UGC, whatever it may be, you still have that in the back of your mind where you can maybe help steer customers in the right direction, or you can ensure in the way you're shooting and editing and producing pieces that it is going to hit the mark. It is going to convert.
Oh yeah, we've got some good stuff. I think part of this the podcast and everything we're doing here is because of a pain that business owners have with content creation.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be really hitting that in future episodes. So if you're a content creator, buckle up. If you're a business owner, buckle up. We got lots of good stuff coming.
Lots of good stuff coming. All righty. I'm Jake. This is Connor.
See you next time.
See you next time.
See you next time.
See you next time.
See you next time.